So, hi again. It's Neil Wilkins here, and welcome to this live broadcast, this live episode focused right at the start of this wonderful New Year opportunity on my mantra. And my mantra for this coming year is awareness and abundance. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what that means to me. As we go through this episode, I also want to invite you to join me throughout this year as we explore a whole bunch of techniques and ideas and thinking, some ancient philosophies and some new stuff as well, to create and live in the moment, every moment. So this is really what I mean by when I talk about awareness and abundance. It is one of those things that, it almost feels like it's a little bit out of reach, out of touch for most of us. So we're going through this journey, and I invite you to join me on it as we go through this year, because we're going to explore a whole bunch of different ways and approaches for becoming more aware, and then by the very nature of that, becoming more abundant. And I'm very, very excited by this because I think for me, over recent years, it feels like this coming year ahead, which we're just going into, is really a unique moment and a unique opportunity to really kind of optimize all the things that we've kind of wished for over recent years, but due to restrictions and the chaos and all the uncertainties, we haven't really necessarily been able to realize. So for me, this is the moment. This is the time where, as things settle, both personally and professionally, I really do believe that this is now the moment to really kind of kick on from all the opportunities that have kind of sort of waved and dangled themselves in front of us, but we haven't really been able to grasp. And I think there's a whole host of different reasons why that has been, and it's probably a lot of them are beyond the obvious. A lot of the obvious has been very much sort of shrouded in the recent pandemic and everything that has been going on with that. And wherever you are, either waking up in the world right now, or you're coming to the end of your day today, just checking the time there. And irrespective of kind of where you are, we've all been affected by this. And I think for me, coming into this early part of the new year, is this moment to really kind of just stop, reflect, and sort of say almost like enough with that, and that is now an opportunity to really kind of delve deeply into the big opportunities really that are around us. And when I'm talking about this and this whole idea of mindful living and awareness to create this abundance that I'm talking about, I am talking both personally and professionally. Okay, so I'm not just saying this is in a work sense, and I'm not just saying this is in your private life. I think if we can all kind of grasp these opportunities, and as I say, these ancient philosophies, some of these new wisdoms, some of these new ideas that we're going to explore as we go through this year, it's an opportunity to really see it manifest in lots of ways through both your personal and your professional life. And I think for me, that's why this is so exciting. And this is why this year, I believe, is very, very different to previous years, where we've kind of, as I say, been held back a little bit by some of the limitations of the situation. But I think this is now clearing. I think for lots of us, we're seeing, the challenges kind of almost sort of melt away a little bit. And so this is why I feel now is the absolute time. So my invitation to you is to join me this year as I do a lot more of these broadcasts. We're going to be doing a whole host of different webinars, interviews, conferences and summits. There's a whole range of different things being planned. And on January the 10th, at around this kind of time, so mid-afternoon if you're in the UK, in the morning if you're over in the US, I'm going to be telling you a lot more about the timeline for this coming year. Okay, so this is kind of in development as we talk and speak right now, but it's coming. And on the 10th of January, I'm going to be sharing all of that detail with you. So really, really exciting times to give you a lot more of that sort of granular detail of kind of what we can do. But at the end of this particular episode, this particular broadcast, what I want to do is to give you the first of many, many, many ideas to play with as we go through this journey, hopefully together through this year. And this first little idea, which I'm going to share with you in a moment, is all about creating great daily habits. Now, I think one of the things about entering into the new year at a time like this is the fact that, a lot of us kind of make New Year's resolutions. It's a popular thing wherever you are in the world to think, right, new year, new start, let's make a New Year's resolution. And about 5 or 6 days, if you're lucky, 5 or 6 days in, you've kind of completely forgotten about it and you've reverted back to the old ways and you've kind of missed that moment, you've missed that opportunity. So for me, this is all about being relentlessly calm in the approach that we take here to actually make this thing happen and work. Okay, so we're going to take this thing step by step by step. Now, I've got some big stuff, big strategic kind of life-changing stuff to share with you as we go in deeper into the year. But for now, what I want to do over the next few broadcasts, the next few live sessions that I'm going to share with you, what I want to do is to spend a little bit of time creating the first of really good, strong, productive, and very self-aware daily habits. Okay, now this is going to be something you're going to hear a lot from me. So if our mantra for this year is awareness and abundance, so becoming more aware professionally and personally, and then figuring out kind of what do we want to see in a more abundant sense, so at scale or just simply more of in this year. And then actually figuring out the daily habits that we need to be exhibiting, the kind of behaviors that we need to be showing and demonstrating both to ourselves and to the world, the mindset that we need to have, the kind of sort of feelings that we need to be taking into a year like this, which if it is full of opportunity, not getting too carried away and excited, but putting in place some really good, strong, robust habits that just allow us to kind of carry ourselves through this year, being self-aware, being really mindful, but also becoming abundant in whatever sense abundance means to you. Now, that could be financial abundance. You might need or want more money. It could be spiritual abundance. You want to become a little bit more kind of spiritual, in touch with your sort of deeper self, shall we say. It could be a whole bunch of other things as well. So there could be abundance can mean many different things to many different people. So we'll look at how we're going to define that in the upcoming sessions. But for today, we're going to start to focus on just a couple of things really to kind of set the scene for what is coming. Now, the first thing I want to sort of draw your attention to is something that if you've listened to any of my webinars from last year and some of the stuff I was talking about in quite some detail, you'll know that Sonia and I produced a course, an online course called Ikagai. And the Ikagai course was basically designed to help you to become present in every moment and to begin to be really kind of conscious and aware of living a lifestyle and living a lifestyle in the moment, every single moment, that actually is doing things and being in places that you love, doing and behaving and being the kind of person that the world needs, and that's a really important element of Ikigai, being good at what you do, in other words, the things that you love and the things that the world needs, identifying also actually out of those things, what are you actually good at? Because it's very hard to push water uphill. And that's always a phrase that I hear myself saying a lot, is we don't want to be pushing water uphill. We need to be kind of identifying with what our core strengths are and then matching those with the things that we love and also that the world needs, and then seeing if we can then get some reward from those things. Okay, and that sweet spot in the middle of what we love, what we're good at, what the world needs, and what we can be rewarded for is what we would call Ikigai. And some of the great thinkers around the concept of Ikigai, almost living this, idealistic life, and it is possible, it really genuinely is possible, is to be thinking about this in every waking, breathing moment. So this isn't something you kind of switch on at the start of the day and say, hey, I'm living an Ikigai lifestyle. And then you go back to doing stuff you don't enjoy, or you feel that you're doing things on behalf of others and you're not actually feeling the heart in everything that you do. Or you're battling against stuff that you feel you should be doing, but actually not really very good at, or you're living a kind of a lifestyle that isn't actually bringing you any kind of reward back. So there isn't this beautiful sweet spot at the center, which we're calling Ikigai, just to give it a simple term. And this whole ancient Japanese philosophy is a really, really great way of creating every day, every moment awareness, but also balancing that with abundance. Because as soon as you start focusing on what you love and what you're good at, and actually the world needs it, you start to find yourself being rewarded for those things. Now, reward, as I said earlier, could be some kind of financial, commercial reward, but it can also be rewarded in other ways. And it could be social acceptance. It could be part of a community. It could be, feeling like you're making a difference. And that to you could be the reward that you're looking for. So we're going to explore Ikigai in a lot more detail over the coming months, and I'm going to give you some of the building blocks and some of the ways to kind of begin to think this through, because it is a really, really vital concept in this whole mantra that we're talking about, building awareness and abundance. Okay, this is kind of really at the core of everything. Doing something you love, that you're good at, that the world needs and you can be rewarded for, and doing it in every moment that you're living and breathing. Okay, and again, as I say, this is possible. Some people might be sat there now, and you might be sat there thinking, oh, come on, Neil, man, this is really kind of pie in the sky stuff. This is just isn't possible. But trust me, once we get on this journey, there are tools and techniques and great daily habits that you can begin to exhibit and begin to kind of really kind of embody in yourself to give you the opportunity to be living that kind of lifestyle, both personally and professionally. And I'll come back to that bit, because that is the key. This is not something you simply switch on. This is not something that happens to be there at any moment, but then in other moments it's not there. It's really, really important that you're doing this in such a way that it is literally there at every moment in everything that you're doing. And that's really, really important. So Ikigai is a concept that we're going to talk about a lot. So living an Ikigai lifestyle is doing what you love, doing things that the world needs, that you're good at, that you can also be rewarded for. And that's really, really important. So how can we begin on this journey? So I've given you this invitation and said to you that, I would really love to be part of your world this year. And I'm going to invite you to, if you want to register interest and find out when I'm putting all these broadcasts out, each time I do, I'm going to send you a message and say, hey, look, I'm going to be putting something live in a moment, and, let's join together and let's kind of work on this thing together. And I'm going to then be obviously able to send you some follow-up notes and some things as we go on this journey together. So I'm doing this thing. I'm here, yes, to teach you the stuff I know about, but also here to journey with you to explore some of the new stuff. And some of the stuff we're going to cover is brand new. And I'll tell you about that another time, in about sort of 3 or 4 episodes' time. I'm going to share that with you. But for me, the really interesting thing is that we can do this together. Okay, so we will be building a community here of people who are on this similar sort of journey. And if the idea of awareness, creating more self-awareness and getting abundance in whatever you need or want from that awareness sounds like a good thing to do, then join me. So email me at mail@neilwilkins.online, and that will just simply register you for getting some updates when I send them through, as we're going to sort of be doing this thing together. So that'll give me the opportunity, obviously, to contact you in advance of these sessions, rather than you just happening to be there at the right time. I'll let you know in advance. So I'd really love to invite you to do that. So with this whole Ikigai thing, and this is only a short little session that I'm doing a very brief basic introduction to kind of where we're headed on this journey this year. But what I'd really like to do is to begin to help you to explore one of these really, really great habits that I've been playing with over, I would say probably about 4 or 5 years now, this first one. And this is a really, really intriguing one. If you give this a little bit of a chance to kind of bed in and sort of really understand it, and you do have to practice these things. They're not something you can say, oh, yeah, I heard Neil say that, and yeah, I did that once, and yeah, that's fine, it's a habit. This is something you need to really embody and be patient to give it a chance and a time to really kind of sort of settle into your world. Okay, now this is a really, really interesting one, and this is what I'm going to call habit number 1, should we say. And I think I will kind of number these as we go through, so we can always reference back to them. And I will talk about this one in the coming weeks again, probably again and again, actually, because it is a really, really core one that I think is going to really be one of the bedrock sort of concepts and ideas that we're going to talk about as we go through this year. Because if we're looking for self-awareness and to create abundance from that, one of the very first things that we do is to remove the word should from our world. Okay. Now, it would be very interesting to have kind of listened to you, or if you're listening to yourself, the number of times today already you might and probably will have used the word should. Okay, I should do this. I feel I should go to that place. I feel I should call that person. I feel I should be serving in this way. We spend a lot of time, way too much time, in fact, way overthinking around the concept of should. Okay, now should is a very, very detrimental word in the world of self-awareness and mindfulness. It really is not going to serve you at all. And yet all of us feel almost like morally obliged to be doing lots of should things. I should see this person. I should help here. I should say yes to this because I've been asked. And you find this both personally and professionally. And I do this, I still do this, I'm aware of this concept, and I'm trying to build this really great habit of removing the word should, but it's still there in my world. So this is an ongoing habit that we can really start to craft and create. Because if we could remove the word should from our world, then we're not going to be doing things that we probably will find, actually, if we kind of listed out all of the shoulds in our world, are actually quite distracting. They're probably not providing us or the people around us with the best value. They're probably not things that are really helping us to kind of get to a better place, or perhaps things that will be kind of really supporting our longer term life view or life map, if you like. And so, if we have goals, both professionally and personally, doing things that are should rather than things that are must, if we were to list out everything that we're up to at the moment, things that are should really, really aren't serving us anywhere near as powerfully as things that are in our must category. Somebody I used to work with, and Jim, if you're watching this at all, you'll know who you are. Thank you so much for the original idea, because this is an amazing one. This whole idea of must, should, could. If it's must, you really must be doing it. And that's a great habit, is to be focusing on the things that are must. The things that are must are things that are serving you and those around you at a really high level of value. Okay, so they're helping you to achieve your goals. They're helping to provide great value to the world around you and the people you serve. But if you're doing the things that are should, I should just do that, I should do this, and the word just as well often comes in with this. I'll just do that. And of course, it's never just. It always takes longer than you think it's going to take. So a lot of these things don't serve you. And of course, then if it's must, should, could, the things that are coulds, I could do it with a fair wind and unlimited time, but we never actually get to the coulds. So must, should, could. Let's focus on the musts, the highest value things, the most things that we would have in our priority list, and let's avoid the word should. If we can take out the word should from our vocabulary, we instantly become more relevant, both to ourselves, to the world around us, but also, really importantly, it's a great habit that would allow us to manifest this whole self-awareness thing. Because if we're constantly listening to how we're making decisions, to the things that we put into the I'll do it now box, as opposed to I'll do it later, the shoulds will start to become less significant. The shoulds will become less important to us. And we will then naturally see that what we're doing is actually focusing on the higher value and bigger priorities in our lives. Now, of course, instantly, if we're able to do that, that surely then will translate across. And this is a simple equation. If we're only doing the things that are higher value, we will begin to then be able to scale those things, because we're not being distracted by the should, lower value things. And in which case, that is abundance. That is more of what we're looking for. That is more of the higher value stuff that we seek. So by taking out all of the shoulds from our world, and the next time you hear yourself say should, and this is just the focus for today, is listen to yourself as you talk. Be very, very self-conscious, okay? So be conscious about how you're talking with others. And it's often when you're in dialogue with somebody else that you'll hear yourself say this. Should. Oh yeah, I should do that. I should be there. I should be answering the phone to this person. I should be completing that task. I should do. If you can hear yourself say that, just take a little step back for a moment. Just say, hold on, can I just have a moment here? Because I just need to think this one through. Is it really a should? And if it is, who's it benefiting? If it's really a should, who are you doing this for and why? So it's just becoming, we're not going to judge. I'm not going to say, oh, you're a bad person because you've got too many shoulds and you're not doing any musts. This is not what this is about. What this is about just being very aware of every time you use the word should, and then your motivations behind the use of that word. So that all we're doing here is becoming more and more conscious over the word should, when we say it, in what context we say it. Is it to specific people? Is it to our boss at work or our line manager or whatever we might happen to be working for? Do we use the word should a lot with them? Do we use it with our partner? Because is he or she kind of looking at us and asking us to do stuff and we think, yeah, we should probably do that. But actually, is that serving? So we're not saying we're not going to do any of the shoulds, but what we're doing is we're just waking ourselves up to this word should. Is this next thing that I've said should to, is it serving at the kind of level that the really important stuff is? And then in which case, why did I use the word should? And who am I actually serving with the should? And as I say, this is both professionally and personally. So however much more of today that you have, again, at work or at play or just at home, wherever you happen to be, just listen to your both internal dialogue, but also the dialogue that you spend with other people. And just notice if you can, just be super self-conscious here today, and just notice if you can, the number of times you hear yourself or see yourself saying the word should. Note the context, and you can even keep a little record of this either on your phone or a little journal if you like, but just keep a record of the context, the people, and the situation in which you said the word should. And when we come back in a couple of sessions' time, we're going to review this and we're going to actually explore and see if we can spot any patterns, because building this great habit of removing the word should from your world may start to uncover where you've got some unhealthy patterns in your lifestyle right now that are not serving you. Now, this is not about any deep, heavy philosophy here. This is not about, psychological techniques. This is not about things that, are complicated or difficult to understand. It's a simple word, just being very conscious and aware of every time you use the word should. Okay, and when you think about that, when you actually think about how that might be part of your everyday language, you might be saying that word all the time. So what does that mean? What is that telling you about how you're living your life right now? Again, as I say, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say it's right or wrong. All I'm trying to do is to give you a little tool to play with, a little technique that will allow you to begin, hopefully, to uncover some of those little moments that may be possibly less valuable than others in the way that you're spending your time. And this is one very, very simple little technique. It's hard to do, even though it's really simple. And so that would be an interesting one to explore as well. Remembering to do it is the first thing. So remembering next time you're in conversation, you think, oh, there it is. I said it again. I said that word. That in itself is an interesting one, because just identifying the fact that you're thinking about thinking, introspection is the word that's called, thinking about thinking, is a really, really great starting point, because, we're going to need to practice this stuff. As I say, if this is habit number one, removing the word should from your world, we've got to begin somewhere. So just starting to practice and see the context for that word is going to be a really interesting part of one of the very, very early steps on this journey as we start, hopefully, to move this world, in our worlds, individual worlds, but actually collectively and collaboratively, we're going to learn a lot from each other on this journey towards greater self-awareness. You can call it mindfulness. I'm just calling it awareness because it is beginning with the letter A, and then of course the upshot and the output of that is this other letter A, which is abundance, and that is the other thing that we're looking for here. So that is the first task of the first habit on this very, very first session, right at the start of this new year. And as I say, it would be great if these two words, awareness and abundance, do resonate with you, if you are interested to join me on this journey as we go through this year. As I say, we're going to do lots of webinars. I'm going to be interviewing a host of really, really interesting people. I'm going to be doing some conferences and some workshops where you can get as involved as you want to. There's courses available. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And this is not just a New Year's resolution, okay? We are set fair. The wind is set, our sails are set, and we're off on this amazing new start to this new year. So it will be wonderful if you'd be interested to continue to join me on this journey. And all you have to do to be part of this journey with me is to email me at mail@neilwilkins.online, and then I'll keep you in touch and up to date with all of the times that we go live with these things. And also, once you're kind of in the list, as it were, then we'll start to build a little bit of a community thing around this, and then we can start, as we go through this year, to really begin to share some of these great techniques. I am, as you can probably gather already, really excited about this year. I do really think this is a special year ahead. And it's probably going to be a year both technically, but also personally. It's going to be a year of huge opportunities. We're going to learn stuff technically that we never realized was available and was possible. And I think personally, we're also going to evolve as individuals and as human beings. There's some very, very different energies going around the planet right now. There's a whole bunch of conversations and a whole bunch of new things that are emerging from different communities. And we're going to tap into some of those to really, really figure out how all of us individually can become more aware and more abundant as we go through this year. So join me if you feel that this resonates with you. I'm going to continue to broadcast. I'm going to continue to share stuff. And as I say, the very first little technique, that very first little habit, just to remember for today, is to help yourself to begin to remove the word should from your world. It really is as simple as that. And if you can start to remove the word should, or even just identify when you're using the word should as opposed to must, then we can start to really begin to prioritize what's important in your world. And remember that definition of Ikigai. This is where we're headed really for this thing, that we can be living a life, doing things that we love, both professionally and personally, that the world needs from us, that actually we've identified we're actually pretty good at, and that we can be rewarded for in however we define reward. And I'll share with you how I'm going to define reward in a very, very upcoming session, because I think this is all really important to figure out why we'd want to be doing something like this. Because, yeah, it's all very well setting these ideas and these goals and these resolutions, but the really important thing, the really important starting point here is to kind of figure out, what am I here for? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And that will be the subject for an upcoming session. So in the meantime, remember, you can email me at mail@neilwilkins.online to register to be part of this journey. And I look forward to catching up with you again very, very soon. And remember, today's task is just focusing on the word should. When do you say it? When do you do it? And why?